Awaking abruptly from a chilling nightmare, Beth sits up in a cold sweat inside the tent she shares with her husband Jay, who is still sound asleep. Seeking relief from her trembling hands and racing heart, she steps outside. The forest, bathed in early morning stillness, offers little comfort as she takes a short walk, hoping to calm herself. On a hill, she pauses, breathing deeply while watching the horizon brighten. Feeling slightly more composed, she heads back to the tent, where Jay mentions he transferred some items from her heavy backpack into his. They agree to continue their trek along a trail they estimate will take about half an hour to reach their next waypoint. This trip is a celebration. It's been 1 year since Beth's cancer went into remission, and hiking and camping together has always been their favorite escape. However, Beth isn't yet at full strength after her battle with the illness. Despite her determination, the trek proves challenging and she injures herself on the rugged trail. Jay encourages her, reminding her of their many past adventures and offering to take an easier route. But Beth, ever determined, insists they stay on the more difficult, less traveled path. Jay takes on the extra burden of carrying both their backpacks, his concern for her apparent. By late afternoon, they stop to set up camp for the night. Determined to tend to her injury, Beth carefully makes her way to a nearby stream. The gentle babbling of the water provides a momentary solace, allowing her to collect her thoughts. As she kneels by the cool, clear water, she begins to wash her wound, the rhythmic motion bringing a semblance of calm to her troubled mind. However, as she gazes into the stream, her heart skips a beat. Floating downstream is the lifeless body of what appears to be a bear, but something is horribly wrong. It is completely skinless, its flesh unnaturally exposed. The sight sends a chill down her spine, and she feels a surge of fear gripping her. Without wasting a moment, Beth calls out to Jay, who quickly approaches her side. Together they examine the grotesque carcass, both struggling to comprehend the macabre scene before them. Jay runs his fingers over the bare skin, his brow furrowing in confusion and horror. "I've never seen anything like this," he mutters, his voice shaky. "It's like something out of a nightmare." Beth shivers, her mind racing with dark possibilities. "Do you think it was hunters?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Jay shakes his head slowly. "I don't think so, unless it's an illegal hunter. But even then, this is unbelievable." As they stand up, Jay reassures her, "Don't worry, Beth, we'll get through this together." His words, filled with unwavering support, bring a flicker of comfort to her distressed state. They return to their campsite, the once peaceful atmosphere now tainted by the eerie discovery. Jay mentions that he's taken care of transferring some items from Beth's backpack to his own to lighten her load, showcasing his constant care and attentiveness. Beth feels a deep sense of gratitude and love for Jay, her heart swelling with appreciation for his unwavering support during her battle with cancer. Night begins to fall, and the couple settles around a crackling campfire, the warm glow casting dancing shadows on their faces. The vast expanse of the starry sky above them is breathtaking, a testament to the beauty of nature that they both cherish. They share stories of their past adventures, reminiscing about the trails they've conquered and the memories they've forged together. Laughter and soft conversation fill the air, creating a sense of normalcy amidst the lingering unease from the day's earlier events. Suddenly, the tranquility is shattered by the sharp crack of a gunshot, echoing through the forest. Both Beth and Jay freeze, their eyes darting nervously into the darkness beyond the firelight. Jay instinctively reaches for his phone, contemplating calling the Forest Service, but Beth swiftly places a calming hand on his arm. "It's probably far away," she reassures him. "By morning, we'll be well clear of here. Besides, if you call now, it might ruin our adventure." Her practical approach helps quell his immediate anxiety, allowing them to return to their peaceful moment by the fire. As the night deepens, strange and unsettling sounds begin to permeate the forest. Unidentifiable noises, rustling leaves, distant howls, and the occasional snapping of branches create an atmosphere of mounting tension. Beth tries to brush off the sounds, attributing them to nocturnal wildlife, but Jay remains visibly uneasy. The couple shares uneasy glances. Later, as they attempt to sleep in their tent, a sinister hand brushes against the fabric, sending Beth into a panic. She jolts awake, gasping for breath as another nightmare grips her. Her heart pounds in her chest, and she realizes with a start that Jay is no longer beside her. Fear propels her into action. She grabs a flashlight and cautiously steps out of the tent, the beam cutting through the darkness as she calls out for Jay, her voice trembling with fear. The dense forest surrounds Beth as she steps further away from the safety of the tent, her flashlight casting long, eerie shadows between the trees. The air is thick with tension, every rustle and snap amplifying her anxiety. She moves cautiously, her senses on high alert. Suddenly, a high-pitched scream pierces the silence, sending a jolt of adrenaline through her body. Startled, she fumbles with her flashlight, causing it to slip from her grasp and tumble into a pool of strange, sticky goo on the forest floor. Beth kneels to retrieve the flashlight, her hands trembling as she touches the viscous substance. Nearby, she notices enormous footprints embedded in the mud, far too large to belong to any known animal in the area. Her pulse quickens as she tries to make sense of the ominous signs surrounding her. Before panic can fully set in, Jay emerges from the darkness, having stepped out of the tent to relieve himself. Relief washes over Beth, but the tension remains palpable. Together, they turn back to their campsite, only to be met with a scene of utter devastation. Their tent lies in ruins, shredded and smeared with the same unsettling goo that Beth had encountered earlier. Their belongings are scattered and damaged. Beth's phone is cracked, and their boots are soaked and torn. As they begin to assess the damage, the horrifying gunshot echoes again, closer this time, followed by deep, menacing roars and the sound of snapping branches underfoot. The reality of their situation hits them hard. Something dangerous is stalking them through the forest. Desperation sets in as they realize they need to escape immediately. Beth recalls a shelter marked on their map, situated near a trail split, but Jay calculates that it's about 16 kilometers away, a daunting distance to cover, especially with Jay's injured leg. With little choice, Jay and Beth decide to make a break for the shelter. The forest around them feels increasingly hostile, the once welcoming trails now seeming to twist and close in around them. As they push forward, a strange, acrid smoke begins to rise from a hill nearby, obscuring their vision and adding to the mounting sense of dread. Suddenly, a massive, monstrous hand emerges from the smoke, clutching at the trunk of a towering tree. Beth freezes, paralyzed by fear as the grotesque appendage sways menacingly above them. Jay, ever the protector, grabs her arm firmly and pulls her away, urging her to keep moving. He shouts over the growing cacophony of eerie roars that now surround them from all directions. Panic propels them forward, their breaths coming in ragged gasps as they sprint through the dense underbrush. In the chaos, Jay stumbles and collides with a thick tree trunk, the impact jarring his injured leg. Beth quickly helps him regain his footing, her concern evident despite their dire circumstances. Almost there, Jay gasps, struggling to remain upright. The shelter is just ahead. The first light of morning offers a brief respite, hinting at the possibility of escaping the nightmare that has plagued their journey. As daylight fully breaks, Jay and Beth find a momentary haven by a small, babbling stream. The sound of flowing water brings a semblance of peace, and they take the opportunity to catch their breath and assess their situation. It's quieter now, Jay observes, scanning the surrounding trees for any signs of movement. Maybe we've lost whatever was chasing us. Beth nods, though unease still lingers in her heart. At least it's been quiet for a while, she replies, though the lingering fear is unmistakable in her voice. Jay, ever the optimist, spots a narrow trail winding through the trees ahead. As they prepare to continue their trek, Beth's attention is drawn back to the strange smoke that had appeared earlier. She feels a sudden, inexplicable shift in her vision, a momentary distortion that leaves her disoriented. Before she can voice her concerns, Jay steps forward, his foot landing squarely in a bear trap hidden beneath the underbrush. Beth reacts instantly, rushing to his side to help free him from the trap. With a combination of quick thinking and sheer determination, she manages to pry the trap open, but not without causing further injury to Jay's already damaged leg. His leg is now severely broken, the pain evident in his anguished cries. The sounds of the creature's roars begin to swell once more, signaling that it is drawing nearer. "We don't have much time," Beth urges, her own fear driving her to act swiftly. She helps Jay to his feet, supporting his weight as they attempt to limp away from their dire predicament. The path to the shelter seems impossibly long. With Jay's leg injured and their options dwindling, Beth takes the lead, her resolve hardening as she navigates the treacherous forest. Every step is a battle against exhaustion and fear, but she remains focused, driven by the instinct to protect her husband. As they move deeper into the woods, the oppressive atmosphere intensifies, the canopy above blocking out much of the morning light and casting long, sinister shadows around them. Suddenly, Beth stumbles upon a set of ancient ruins, their stone walls covered in unsettling carvings and adorned with what appears to be stretched human skins. The macabre display sends a shiver down her spine, and she feels a sense of foreboding wash over her. As she cautiously explores the area, her flashlight catches the gleam of something unusual, a dark, irregular hole in the ground that seems to lead into the depths of the earth. Curiosity and dread intertwine as Beth peers into the hole, only to have her attention diverted by the sight of two glowing, eerie eyes watching her from the shadows behind one of the stretched skins. Panic grips her as she realizes she's not alone. The presence of the creature becomes unmistakably clear, and without warning, a powerful force throws her to the ground, leaving her gasping for air. Before the creature can close in, a strong hand clamps over Beth's mouth, muffling her screams. She struggles futilely as a figure drags her away from the horrifying scene. The sounds of heavy footsteps and a menacing growl fill the air, signaling the creature's relentless pursuit. In a sudden twist, the man reveals himself as Quinn, a rugged survivalist with a stern demeanor. He quickly assesses Jay's condition, noting the severity of his injury, and introduces himself as someone who has been tracking the creature responsible for the atrocities in the forest. "We need to move quickly," Quinn commands, his voice devoid of any warmth. "That thing won't stop until it finds us." Beth, still reeling from the encounter, demands answers. "What is that thing?" she asks, her voice trembling. Quinn hesitates for a moment before responding. "It's a Wendigo, a creature of legend that preys on the weak and the unsuspecting." The gravity of his words sinks in, and Beth realizes the true extent of the danger they are facing. Together, they must find a way to survive the night and uncover the secrets behind the Wendigo's relentless hunt. As the night deepens, Quinn leads Beth and Jay to his secluded bunker, a hidden refuge fortified against the malevolent forces lurking in the forest. Beth watches him closely, her mind racing with questions and fears about the creature that has upended their lives. Quinn explains the legend of the Wendigo in greater detail, describing it as a malevolent spirit that feeds on human flesh and possesses those who are weak or vulnerable. "It's not just a physical threat," he warns. "It can also corrupt your mind, turning you against your own." His words send a chill down Beth's spine as she realizes the full extent of the horror they're up against. Beth takes a deep breath, the weight of her secret pressing heavily on her. "There's something you should know," she begins hesitantly. Quinn looks up, his eyes sharp and assessing. "What is it?" Beth admits, her voice barely above a whisper. "My cancer. It has returned." Quinn's expression softens slightly, a flicker of empathy passing through his otherwise stoic facade. He responds, "That makes you even more vulnerable to the Wendigo's influence." Quinn firmly declares, "You can't leave this bunker until we eliminate the Wendigo. It's the only way to ensure your safety and Jay's." As the hours pass, Beth grows increasingly uneasy, the confined space of the bunker amplifying her anxiety. She can't shake the feeling that Quinn is hiding something, especially after discovering the hidden tunnel filled with gruesome human remains. The evidence suggests that Quinn has encountered the Wendigo before, and his methods may be more ruthless than she initially believed. Tension mounts as Beth begins to question whether Quinn can truly be trusted, or if he has his own dark agenda in bringing them into this nightmare. Determined to end the Wendigo's reign of terror, Beth musters her courage and confronts Quinn about his intentions. "Are you planning to use me as bait?" she asks, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. Quinn's eyes narrow, his expression hardening. "It's the only way to draw it out," he responds bluntly. Beth hesitates, torn between her desire to survive and her reluctance to sacrifice herself for the sake of their mission. Realizing the gravity of their situation, Beth makes a bold decision. "If I'm going to be bait, then I'm doing it on my terms," she declares, her determination unwavering. Quinn considers her proposal, the seriousness of the Wendigo's threat evident in his eyes. After a tense moment of silence, he reluctantly agrees, understanding that Beth's unique situation, her illness, makes her an ideal target for the creature. Before saying farewell to Jay, Bet takes the object he found at the campsite when the attack began. Think you could outsmart the Wendigo? Like if you'd take the challenge. Comment your escape plan. Subscribe and let's dive into more spine-chilling adventures. Deep in the forest, Quinn warns her not to look into the monster's eyes, as it could overpower her. Eventually, they come to a stop. Quinn senses the creature is near and abruptly pushes Bet to the ground, shouting for the monster to come for her if it truly desires her. Suddenly, the creature appears, roaring monstrously before mimicking Quinn's daughter's voice. This tricks Quinn, causing him to lower his guard and succumb to its influence. Taking advantage, the creature strikes Quinn, knocking him to the ground in pain. As it retreats, Quinn crawls toward a rock. Bet approaches to check on him and realizes the creature has taken the form of Quinn's daughter. He confirms this, explaining it was why he couldn't shoot the monster earlier. Bet urges him to leave the forest with Jay, but Quinn becomes enraged and drags her elsewhere. Quinn forces Bet to climb to the top of a hill where a log and rope are situated. He demands she put the rope around her neck. Seeing Quinn weakened by his injuries, Bet attempts to fight back but is overpowered. Despite her efforts, Quinn compels her to comply. After securing the rope, Quinn calls out to the creature once again. As he shouts, Bet retrieves the mysterious object from her pocket and strikes Quinn in the neck, momentarily distracting him. Injured but still alive, Quinn hears the creature approaching, again using his daughter's voice. Quinn hides and pulls the rope to hang Bet, handing her a knife as a cruel gesture. Bet frantically saws at the rope to free herself. Though Bet manages to weaken the rope, she loses consciousness. Moments later, the rope snaps and she falls to the ground. Quinn flees into the forest, haunted by the whispers of the creature imitating his daughter. Soon after, he collapses, gravely injured. As he nears death, the creature, now fully resembling his daughter, appears before him. He succumbs, and the monster claims him. Night falls as Bet regains consciousness. She grabs the knife and rushes back to the shelter where Jay is hiding. The creature follows, making unsettling noises. It eventually knocks her down and drags her to a site filled with ancient ruins that Bet had previously discovered. There, she finds Quinn's skin and begins hyperventilating before the creature pushes her into a pit. She wakes up moments later on a sacrificial stone, surrounded by ominous rock art and human bones. Retrieving her knife, she cautiously explores the area. The creature attacks Bet again, knocking her out and placing her back on the sacrificial stone. Each time she tries to escape, it throws her back, repeating the process relentlessly. Refusing to surrender, Bet eventually becomes too injured to continue fighting. She lies on the stone and pretends to submit. The monster circles her, its bizarre hands scraping the stone as it growls. Just as it attempts to force something into her mouth, Bet uses her knife to strike, causing the creature to roar in pain. Bet finally sees the creature in its entirety, a horrifying sight. The monster hurls her across the area and lifts her into the air. Spotting the knife lodged in its chest, she retrieves it and stabs the creature directly in the mouth. It collapses, but she doesn't stop. Bet quickly separates its head from its body. As the monster disintegrates, a larva-like entity emerges, but she crushes it, ensuring the creature is permanently destroyed. Bet climbs out of the pit, relieved the ordeal is over. As dawn breaks, she returns to the shelter and finds Jay alive. She tends to her wounds, administers medication to Jay, and carefully bandages his leg. Together, they leave the shelter and follow the trail leading back home. As they walk, distant, haunting echoes of the creature's screams fill the air, leaving an unsettling reminder of their ordeal.